Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we are super happy to have you here, and we just ask that you bring an open mind and heart to your listening experience and to be prepared to explore vantage points that I'm convinced will help shift or solidify your current understanding of the ultimate nature of reality in a way that is extremely empowering. Speaking of exploring powerful perspectives, I would like to gift my book, The Golden Key, Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance to you at goldenkey.gift, where you can get the audio or ebook as my gift to you by using the code POSITIVEHEAD at checkout. All right, all you positive heads, welcome back to another episode of the Positive Head Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon. As you know, as you maybe don't know, if it's your first time listening, happy to be here. It is a magical Monday as I record this and ready to get the day going. What better way? I have to pinch myself that I get to do this every day. Well, 5 days a week when I wake up. And it is such a wonderful way to start my day, sort of tapping into what's important and what lessons I can learn for the day. And of course, share with you guys. It's just a great process to be able to learn and teach. We're all students first and foremost, and to have any sort of, influence in any of your lives, is such a wonderful experience as I sort of, help myself and help you in the process. Hopefully, it's a great thing, and I hope you're all feeling magical, whether it's Monday or whatever day it is you're listening to this. It's just a choice, right? And I'm choosing to make it magical, and I hope you do too. And of course, it helps getting reviews from you guys on iTunes. You know, that gets me all excited because, it truly fuels my fire, so to speak, when I hear feedback from you guys and that it's making a difference in your lives. And I know I'm doing something that is sort of on my path that I'm meant to do, and it feels good to find that. And we all have that, by the way. Every one of us, we all have something completely unique that is just for us. We are the perfect soul to do. And when you're in flow with that concept, that idea, and relax about needing to find something to identify yourself or to give yourself external value in the world, when you let go of all those expectations and just know. It's like talking to my son who's been, at that age, everyone's college. What am I going to do? And what do I pursue? And, all these things. And we teach people that they have to have it all figured out, from puberty on. And it's just not the way it truly is. It's like we all are on our own unique paths, our own unique trajectories to finding ourselves. It's a unique journey of self-discovery. You are alone on that journey in some sense. And actually, that's what we're going to talk about today. And when you can accept that and trust that process and know that, hey, I am a divine spark that has a divine purpose that is all my own, and I will naturally flow into it when I stop with the fear and anxiety and things that actually push it away. Right. And maybe you're in it right now and you know it. Maybe you're not. If you don't know, relax into it unfolding. It will unfold when you trust and have faith. And this is, you hear faith referred to a lot in religious context. I mean, I think that's what they're getting at, that faith that is talked about in religious texts and so forth. It's really a spiritual thing to have faith in the universe and source, your higher self, that you will end up where you need to end up when you stop, as Abraham talks about, when you stop resisting the flow, when you stop swimming upstream and just let life take you. It'll naturally take you through synchronicity, through serendipity. You will find the people, places, things coming up, and you follow that intuition. You follow your gut. You start learning how to live in this way and relax about it all. This is how you end up where you're meant to end up. And it's so much easier than trying to physically alter your reality and go against the flow and force things to happen that you think should happen and all that stuff. But whew, okay, I jumped right in, didn't I? Rewind. Let's go back to this review. This is a review on iTunes from Political Pearls, Food for My Soul. I randomly came across this podcast a few months ago and have been so impressed with Brandon and his guests. This podcast expands my understanding of everything around me and helps me realize there are so many other people like me out there. Speaking of synchronicity, after the big episode I had a dragonfly literally fly into me in the middle of my gym. I didn't expect to see any butterflies since it is getting colder in West Virginia, but I found them all around me. Thank you, Brandon, for the latest election podcast that I desperately needed. I kept refreshing, waiting to see if you were going to post one. The tapping helped immensely, and to hear you all speak of greater things to come has helped me on my journey to restore faith in the process after a tough hit this election. Beyond grateful for this podcast and Brandon. Well, I am beyond grateful for this review. Thank you so much for completing the circle of love and shining back to me in this way. It helps me to reach new people. And if you haven't reviewed yet on iTunes or anywhere else online, please do so. Of course, iTunes being the holy grail of all things podcasting. When you review, you help me to reach new listeners. And it seems I'm getting more and more people that are randomly finding the show just by searching. And that's thanks to you guys that are giving me reviews. It's so wonderful. Thank you. It seems like the election stuff obviously has been, I've talked about a few times, a lot of energy swirling out there about it. And of course, I think of, Mother Teresa. You've probably heard me say it before on other podcasts because it's such a impressive view. And talking about, and I understand people that are out there sort of protesting and whatnot, and that's certainly your right to do. The thing I would encourage anyone to consider, though, is, the idea that putting your energy into building something that you want to see instead of what you're against is, to me, a much more powerful way to utilize your precious life, energy, your source energy in a way. Mother Teresa was asked to march against the war in Vietnam, and she said they're doing a big, huge, march against Vietnam. They wanted her to be a big part of it. She said, I'll never do that, but have a march for peace and I'll be there. And I think that's a great lesson. She understood where attention goes, energy flows. Put your energy on what you want. And, I saw someone out there someone in my Facebook feed, friend group, I don't know where exactly, posted that they were talking about the idea that Trump is like a tack. If you sit on a couch and it's comfortable and easy and warm, you kind of settle into it. You get complacent. But if you sit on a tack, you're going to jump up. You're going to take action. And I think there's some of that going on for sure. Let's just make sure that action is in a positive direction. Being for something is what I would suggest. But we've talked a lot about that sort of thing. So moving right along, I would like to talk about someone on the Positive Heads Facebook group for you guys on Facebook that are listeners. Join up. It's where listeners are mixing it up, sharing inspiring things, questions with each other, connecting. It's really cool to see and be a part of. And there's a listener who wrote on the Facebook group earlier, and it kind of inspired me, a topic that I feel like is one to address. So, Leah, thank you for putting the question out there. Leah said, do you often feel like the odd man out? I have many times when I just don't fit into any group. While I'm happy to be unique, I always like feeling accepted and loved. Who doesn't? I wonder if this is mostly my own beliefs of myself manifesting, or if I'm just destined to not fit into any group of people. What an interesting thought, right? Who hasn't had the experience of being alone, or fear of being alone, or not liking being alone, or not feeling like they fit in? We all can relate, right? Some people have that more of a theme in their world, and others do not. Now, why is that? Is it because they're destined? I would say there is no such thing as ultimate destiny. I always say your life plays out on the corner where free will and destiny meet. Well, what does that mean? Well, As you've heard me say, there's infinite versions of reality, and Source plays out every possibility you can think of. So is there a version of reality where you are an outsider a lot? I'm sure there is. Is there a version of reality where you are very much tied into all kinds of groups that you fit into perfectly? I would say that's true as well. So you have free will which version you're going to experience. So there's no ultimate destiny, one path. There's many paths for Leah and all of us to experience, right? It is infinite, the sort of smorgasbord of options that can be pulled down from the ethers to appear into your physical reality, manifesting, reflecting back your vibration. So if you're giving the vibration of I am destined to be alone, guess what? Guess what kind of reflections you're going to get, right? If you're swimming in that pool, that is certainly an option. And I wouldn't even say that being alone is a bad thing, and we'll talk about that more in a moment. But first, I just want to really get the idea down. There is no ultimate destiny that you're stuck with. You are Source incarnate. You have infinite choices at your disposal to call from, infinite tools to call forth. And so, if you felt like the odd man or woman out, everyone's had that experience. I tell you what, why don't you give energy to the vibration of what it would feel like to be the odd and not so odd woman in, right? the person that is loved and accepted and finding this perfect peer group that perfectly suits who and what you are. Did you know the universe can literally manifest that for you? That those beings can somewhat magically appear in ways you would never anticipate seeing them appear in your movie? There's no shortage of what Source can provide to you, and no shortage of ways that it can provide it. It is so creative and powerful. So I would say step out of that idea of, being alone is my destiny. And being happy to be unique, that's great. Be happy. And of course, feeling accepted and loved, that does feel great. I fully agree. But the person that needs to fully accept and love you most of all, who is that? Yourself. Self-love. The number one thing we're all here to learn is self-love. And I say the reason we have to get comfortable with self-love is because at the end of the day, we're fractals of the divine, of Source. And what is Source? It's alone, right? When all the puzzle pieces go back in the box, it's all one. We're all one. And it is, if there's one, there's no other, right? And so self-love is exactly what we're here learning. So it's very important to accept and love yourself first and foremost. And if you can move into that space, then you're going to see reflections of that in your movie, right? This is the path to attract the group that you want to have around you. Is you start with self. It all starts with self. There is no out there. Out there is a reflection of your internal state. Some great quotes I found on this topic. Osho, come out of the masses, stand alone like a lion, live your life according to your own light. Steve Atchison said, being alone has a power that very few people can handle. It's a power, right? Finding that self-love. You don't need it. You can have it, but you don't need it. And that's the big difference, right? You can, the great irony of life, you can have what you want when you no longer need it. When you realize you're perfectly perfect without it. You don't have to have that thing in order to be fulfilled. Your fulfillment doesn't come from out there. Another quote, the man who follows the crowd will usually get no further than the crowd. The man who walks alone is likely to find himself in places no one has ever been before. Not sure about that quote. It was attributed to Albert Einstein, but then that was put into debate. So yeah, doesn't really matter who said it. It's a great quote. So I just encourage you to really examine how that makes you feel. What are you comfortable with being by yourself? Are you not comfortable? Certainly, you're not destined to be anything other than what you create. You make your destiny. There's infinite options of you, versions of you that have been played out by Source. So if you want something different, call it forth. I found a clip by Dr. Bill Crawford. Seems like I've seen him somewhere before. Not real familiar with him, but I liked what he had to say, and it's a relatively short clip. New Take on Loneliness is this clip's title. I found it on his YouTube page, which is Bill Crawford. Let's take a quick listen.
Hi there. Dr. Bill Crawford here, psychologist, speaker, author of 7 books, host of 2 PBS specials. Here today to bring you another tip on how to help you create the life you want. How to bring more clarity, confidence, creativity into everything you do. Today I want to talk about the subject of loneliness. It can be a big problem for people out there, and I want to take a new perspective on it. One of the things I always like to do is bring new information to an old subject, see if it could be helpful. This comes from a quote by Dyer. You may know he recently passed away. And he was one of my inspirations early in my life. His book, Erroneous Zones, was one of the first books I read and before I got into psychology. I've always loved his work. And the quote that I stumbled across recently from his says, "You cannot be lonely if you like the person you're alone with." Now, I want to be very clear. This isn't me just saying, hey, you need to like yourself more. You need to love yourself more, and if you'll just do that, you'll never be lonely. This isn't me kind of trying to give you some sort of bumper sticker solution here. I want to look at why loneliness is such a problem and what we can do about it. I think the first reason it's such a problem is because initially it was a problem. When we were babies, if we were left alone, we would die. We needed somebody to feed us. We needed somebody to take care of us. And this limbic system, this middle part of the brain that is responsible for keeping us alive, knew that on some level. So loneliness as a baby meant fear of death. And so that encoded that in a big time. So that initially loneliness was a real problem. However, after we grew into 2, 3, 4, 5, we got really clear that, okay, if I'm left alone, I'm not going to die. And then it kind of determined what kind of messages we were getting from the environment. If we were getting the messages that, hey, you're a fun guy to be around, fun person to be around, people like you, people love you, then, hey, you're in good shape. But if you got the message that you're not enough somehow, that there's something wrong with you, or that the only way you are lovable and valuable is if you are loved and valued by others, then being alone meant there was something truly wrong with you. It means you were being rejected by others. So you had to find someone to be around in order to feel valuable and worthy. If we got that message but didn't know we were getting that message, we kind of carried it into our young adulthood. As teenagers, the whole idea of being alone could be a real problem because at that moment we're trying to connect with our peers. It's a really huge time in our life. And then kind of creating relationships and having families and having jobs and all of that, if that was revolving around this fear of being alone or this belief that if we were alone, that meant there was something wrong with us, that meant people didn't want to be around us, then all of a sudden loneliness took on once again this big, huge, threatening experience. But here's what's important. It was learned. It's not a natural experience. Once we've learned as children that, hey, if we are alone, we're not going to die, 2, 3, 4, 5, then it depends on the messages we were getting from our environment. It also depends to some degree on personality type. Extroverts in general get their energy by being around people. Introverts in general get their energy by being alone. So introverts in general are more comfortable with being alone than extroverts. However, I am an extrovert, and I travel about 200 days out of the year, and during that time, the only time I'm really connecting with people is when I'm presenting or doing counseling or consulting. The rest of the time, I'm just spending time with me. Now, fortunately, I guess, I was an only child. So I learned to enjoy my own company very early in life. Plus, I had parents that kind of reinforced my own worth and value. So I grew up not needing people to be around or not needing people to like me in order to feel likable. If you grew up with the message that you're not enough unless you are liked by others, unless you are around others, you get your worth from other people's eyes, you want to begin to change that. The first way to change that is to get really clear, okay, who am I that I would love to spend time with? What are the qualities and characteristics I bring to life that make me someone I would like to be alone with? I encourage people, if you don't know that, to make a list of those 20 qualities and characteristics. Now, if you're not a brain surgeon, you don't put brain surgeon on there. This is not making stuff up. If you're curious, or if you have a good sense of humor, or if you're caring, if you're conscientious, these are qualities and characteristics that make you fun to be around, valuable to be around, and worth being alone with. You want to know what that is. So I'm going to encourage you to make your list. And then I want to encourage you to start practicing enjoying being alone. What do you enjoy? If you go to a movie by yourself, the wonderful thing about that is if you don't like the movie, you can leave. You get to do pretty much whatever you want. What are the activities you enjoy doing? If you begin to practice doing that with yourself, someone you can enjoy being alone with, you're going to start getting good at that. It's just a practice process. Unfortunately, most of us grow up and we haven't practiced that. So this is your opportunity to make a decision. Would I like to live the rest of my life feeling how I do about myself and being alone with me? Or would I like to change that? Would I like to become more comfortable around being alone? Would I like to enjoy my own company more? Because the beautiful thing about that is now when you're making choices, you're not making choices between spending time with somebody you really don't like or spending time alone and feeling lonely, two bad choices. You're making choices between spending time with someone you don't like or spending time with someone you do like, yourself. And therefore, the choice is easier and you spend less time with people you don't like. It's a really nice caveat, a little kind of nice thing that comes along with that. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is just kind of take a look at the messages you've been given. If you've been given messages that you are someone that is fun to be around and people love to be around and you love to be around, then terrific. If you've been given the message, however, that you're not enough, that somehow you have to have people validate your worth before you feel worthy, validate your value before you feel valuable, you want to begin to change that. And as you change it, you can take more responsibility and control of your own experience of life because you're not depending on other people to do that.
Of course, a Dyer quote right there, Wayne Dyer, you cannot be lonely if you like the person you're alone with. And I like how, he talks about where our loneliness, fear may stem from as a baby, right? Yeah, if you're left alone, that's death. And so all these things that are sort of a part of our subconscious are traced back to the first 6 years. And of course, so this is something that we need to shine a light on. Okay, I understand that being lonely at that point in time was dangerous. It's no longer dangerous. It can be beautiful. And start practicing self-love. That is the number one thing we're all here to learn, I believe. And make a list of the qualities that you have that sort of reflect someone you'd want to be around. Shoot, for that matter, make a list of the qualities you want to call forth into your being, that you want to pluck from the infinite, toolbox that is source, right? It's all at your disposal. You can call forth any of these attributes that maybe you currently don't possess but would like to possess, or you currently haven't seen reflected in your movie, and start playing with this. There's so much you can do practicing alone. Meditation, affirmations, so many good things that you can do that are so joyous and joyful, and then you're not stressed about being alone. You actually love it. Practice enjoying being alone, he said. And then you get to choose between spending time with someone. A lot of people are spending time with people they don't like because they're sort of running from being alone. Once you're not scared of being alone and you actually find the joy in it, through this deliberate sort of action, attention, and unwinding of maybe what's just really been programmed from your childhood. Now, spending time with someone you love is always an option because you love yourself, right? What a concept, right? And I know for me, I've definitely gotten to that place. I love spending time alone. I enjoy myself a lot. I love myself. And there's no reason all of us shouldn't. And if there's things that you've done that maybe you're ashamed of, or that a lot of people have these self-deprecating thoughts, whatever you've done in your past, that has nothing to do with now. You are born anew in this moment. So sure, maybe you've done things that you're not proud of, and you have things that you would look at and it would be represent someone you don't like. Well, the good news is that person doesn't exist anymore. You are new in this moment. You are literally born in this moment. And look at the information that you're tuning into. Look at the self-growth you're pursuing. That's a person worth loving. That's a person. No great person has ever come from all roses, all flowery stuff, and no troubling past. Whether you have a troubled past that you can remember in this life or beyond, you've went through it. You've paid dues to find yourself in this way, or to begin to find yourself in this way. You deserve credit for that. You deserve a break for that. You deserve to love yourself for that. And once you start loving yourself for that and accepting who and what you were, you're not that person anymore. That's fine. It was part of the journey. The sweet is never quite as sweet without the sour. You had to go through that to appreciate what you're coming into now. Give yourself a break, guys. You deserve a break today. But do that with healthy food, not Burger King or whatever commercial that comes from. Okay. I'll end the stand-up comedy for today. I love you all. I'm going to leave you with a song that I found. An artist that I really like, who underground artist Ash Walker, who recently put out some new music. This is called Step Into My Spaceship. I love you all. Until next time. Also, before we cue up today's song, as a quick reminder, don't forget to download the Golden Key audio or ebook as my free gift to you at goldenkey.gift using the Golden Key code POSITIVEHEAD. And please, if you enjoy my gift, leave a positive review on Amazon so others can unlock their lives with the help of the Golden Key as well.